Friends and enemies, welcome back to another episode of the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. This is, was it 154? I'm looking at the
Whatever
channel
number
here.
it is. The only number I could truly guarantee is 72K. Other than that, I have
72K,
no idea what's going on.
154. My name's Joey. That's Len. I'm very, very much under the weather here. So glad to be with you, playing my Jordan flu game. But you can't miss a day like today, right? All-time high, easy, like pound through that old high, print 72, maintain. I think we might touch 73 here in a little while. It looks like we're trying to. And on a day like that, you can't really take a vacation. So I'm glad to be here with you, buddy. What's going on? How are you over there?
Yeah, living the dream. It's all fiat too. Remember the number like we discussed last week. Until we get to like a really significant high, what is it, 85, 90, whatever the fuck it really is.
Yeah.
It's just it's a fake high. It's good to celebrate it. It's good to point at all the no coiners out there that were ducking on us for the past 2 years and change. But the reality is, at least, you know, me and I think every other Bitcoin understands the same thing. We know deep down this is just, it's not really an all-time high when you look at what truly is inflation. But Joey, still a good day to celebrate. We hit a number we've never reached before. A lot of people are happy, but a lot of people seem to be kind of salty at the same time, which is very odd. This pump, I expected more cheering, more jubilee that comes along with it. You know, like we're happy. But is there anything that's like, do you see like a lot of people that are just like meh about this thing? Like it seems like it's just a meh fucking high.
Yeah, there's not.
Like
it's weird.
I expect more, but like,
isn't it? Do you think it's because people are like? I was talking to Wayfaring and SBA about this. I can't remember if I said it to you too, but this time around, it feels like there's only so many kinds of people left who are doubting Bitcoin and don't have any, and the overwhelming majority of them, at least in normie land, are actually might even be in like for the traditional finance world too. The only people that are left are people who don't have any and will never buy any because they don't want to admit they're wrong. They won't swallow their pride. And so that's all coming from their camp. And then I think from our camp, there's some salt around the price just absolutely tore faces off for the last 3 months, basically. And people didn't get a chance to stack as much as they wanted to. I kind of feel that pain. But otherwise, I mean, you're always gonna get people who are salty or at least pretending to be salty online for engagement, and people who are genuinely happy. I know I'm happier than a pig in shit. Honestly, it's been a good couple of months here, and I mean, look, we've been telling you guys for so long that this was going to come at some point. The ETFs were going to come, and traditional finance was going to come, and things were going to start to break. And even before things have really started to break, which we'll get into today, you're starting to see people pour in, man. Everybody wanted access to this thing and couldn't get it because there's, you know, a set of archaic laws in most of the modern world that prevented them from doing so in tax efficient vehicles, prevented them from doing so in our IRAs and other registered accounts. And now that stuff's available. What did you think was going to happen? You know, I don't think that the SEC thought this was going to happen. I certainly don't think the White House thought it was going to happen, although they have a price prediction that made me laugh earlier today. And I don't think that any Bitcoiners thought it was going to happen either. I think this is wildly outside of most of our expectations. So while I am thrilled about the all-time high, you can't tell me it didn't come a little fast. It did come a little fast for me.
As fast as it came up, it could equally go down. Once the sentiment changes and it becomes negative and people are selling left, right, and center, this ETF seems to be a multiplying effect when going up, but it's probably going to have the same multiplying effect when going down. So when it does start going down, it's going to go down very hard. I'm not saying it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but nothing goes up forever. And once it starts to go down, what's going to be the floor, especially when you have now everybody selling with the ETF? Now, keep in mind, there's only so much they can sell with the ETF. They can't sell any more than they have on their balance sheet, but they can sell, you know, theoretically up to zero. They'll never do that. There's always going to be people holding. But with respect, you mentioned something that this created a whole new opportunity for people out there to invest and put into tax efficient vehicles, but they existed before. You could have bought Bitcoin through a holding company that you set up and did it with, I think, a Roth IRA.
No one's really gonna do this though.
Well, like nobody was going to do that. It's the thing is, the opportunity existed. People chose not to take advantage of that, and through that method, you hold on to your own keys as well. So you get the added advantage, or staying neutral, because that's what Bitcoin is. You're essentially holding onto your keys. You're not playing at a disadvantage with the ETF. So that always existed. Anybody that had a little bit of money to set up the holding company and go ahead with it, from what I understand, it's just a few $100s to set it up. This is from what I understand. I could be wrong because I've never gone through it, but That's all somebody needed to do in order to take advantage of that, and through tax efficient means. They didn't do it through sheer laziness or for something else. Now we're using the extremely lazy method of the ETF. Here you go. Here's my money. Hold on to my keys at the same time. Come on. How good is that's not fucking Bitcoin. That's fiat.
I'm with you there. I don't think whatever. We can talk about the holding company, the ETFs, the price, and all that. Maybe we should do the sponsors of the show first, since they do pay us for this airtime. EasyDNS. You guys know Mark. You love Mark. Best place for you to host your content. Friendly neighborhood domain registrar. Mark has got tons of good stuff going on over there. So you can obviously start a website if you want, hence the name there. But on top of that, if you want to bring your email over, you want to do virtual private server stuff, some of your Nostr relay, your BTC Pay server, your Bitcoin node, you want to do a nodeless implementation, you decide. Whatever it is for you, you decide. Mark and the team will help you out. And they've done a great deal of good for our website and for us over the last year or so. And we were almost going to say tonight that we have something else to talk about from that camp, but I guess we'll save it for next week. You guys are going to absolutely love it. I'll tell you that. It's a great idea. But in the meantime, whatever your idea is, your big idea for your business or your website, whatever, your blog, your Twitter nim, I don't know, whatever you want to do, go over to EasyDNS and tell Mark we sent you. Use the code CBP Media. You get half off your first round of buys. Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it. Who else?
Bull Bitcoin. You can buy your Bitcoin, you can sell your Bitcoin. And I think there may be a lot of people out there that may consider selling their Bitcoin given the price. I keep saying this every week because we're getting to a new high with respect to the price of Bitcoin. But the opportunity is there. If you want to sell your Bitcoin, you could do so with Bull Bitcoin. And if you want to buy, and the fees are getting rather high, they're not right now, but they can in the future. You could not only buy on-chain and be subjected to the high fees, or you could buy Lightning. So there's lots of opportunities here that you could buy with Lightning. And you could also pay your bills with your Bitcoin. So you could trade your Bitcoin that has gone up quite a bit and use that to pay some of the bills that you have, all with Bull Bitcoin. And you could also buy gift cards and use that in the real world. So you could spend your Bitcoin indirectly through Bull Bitcoin to buy gift cards and go like the Fortinos or Home Depot, where the heck you got to go. And you're spending Bitcoin just like the way Satoshi wanted you to do. But the best thing they have over there is the KYC free buys. You go to Canada Post, load up your account with Cuckbucks, Canadian Cuckbucks. And with that, you could buy some KYC free Bitcoin. We talk about the virtues of KYC free Bitcoin all the time. It is a good way to stack Bitcoin. Again, never mix your KYC and KYC free stack, but Bull Bitcoin gives you the opportunity to buy KYC free. Very cheap, very easy. Check it out.
Insane, man. Great sponsors. Where should we start? We got a lot to talk about today. Price is one thing. We should talk about the boosts, I guess, if we got some boosts, and the housekeeping for this week as well.
Yeah, so the boosts, give me 1 second. We didn't get too many this week, which is odd. We're getting a lot of people streaming sats and streaming sats that like 4 figures, but they're not sending us a boost. I suggest turn that streaming shit off. Send us a boost for less than what you would normally stream us, and you keep more sats in your pocket. Plus, you could have us read a message for you. But yeah, only got 3 this week.
I'll literally read anything on the air.
Just about. As long as the top 5 boosts. But we only got 3 this week. So Rander 444 sats. He says, "Stay savage and stack sats." Agreed. Mo
100%.
BTC Dick writes in 550 sats. Keep in mind the time frame. He wrote this last week. He said, "Did we in fact hit an all-time high? It just doesn't feel special this time around."
He's right. Don't you
we were
think?
just talking
I don't
about
know how special. It's great, and we kind of talked about it last week. But like, do you feel like it was 2021 all over again? I don't. I didn't hear anyone playing "Pump It Up." I mean, Creed, obviously the flavor of the day, but still, it doesn't feel like it's this insane kind of bull party, right?
No, it's definitely the last one was. Is we were still locked at home. It was very, very shortly after the lockdown. A little bit of everything. This time around, I don't know. It's not the same vibe. I'm happy, but until we get to 100K in today's dollars, I'm talking 6 months. I'm not talking 2 years from now. In today's dollars, 100K, then it's going to be party time. Until then, keep stacking.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Shout out to the chat, man. There's 100 fucking people here, which is
it's incorrect.
Well, I don't know. It looks like 100 people between YouTube, Twitter.
Yeah, it's all that jazz, Rumble,
whatever.
And all.
Well, listen, if you're watching, we appreciate it.
I got one more.
Is there more boosts? You got a couple more boosts?
one more I have to go through. And Sir Snacks a lot. He writes in 1,000 sats. He writes into you, Joey. Curious if Joey has paid off his line of credit when he smashed purchased Bitcoin. Guy is pulling off a sailor. I remember you did that, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months ago.
It was the day the ETF launched, the drop on that Friday, or the week the ETF launched, I should say. That Friday we hit a drop. I think it hit the low 40s, and I did a smash buy, $2,000. Have I paid it off? No. So I should probably do that at some point. But yeah, I have to say I'm happy about how that turned out. I'm not not angry about that one. I did take a little bit of shit from you about that. I think not many other people.
No, I didn't take it. I was like, oh no. I was like, why do that? Like I would, don't borrow. Use what you can. Going into debt is, it's a tough thing to do. I wouldn't recommend it. And yeah, if only, like, I would suggest use whatever you have extra at the end of the day. And that's the best, because it's not going to impact your ability to pay bills. It's not going to impact your ability to live your life. Although you could scale back your life and buy more Bitcoin, but man, credit, like borrowing it, oh, that's a tough way to go. But it works for some people, and hopefully it works for you too. It is working for you.
Yeah. Okay. So this week on CBP, we did have a guest booked, but they slid out to April, I think you said, right? So we have to reschedule that. But I'm trying to get Tour. I haven't touched base with Tour. I tried to message him yesterday. I'm gonna try and set that up for this week. If not, though,
we could do something together.
We'll do a nooner, or if you guys have an idea for a guest, send it to us and we'll talk to them. We'll get them on the show for Wednesday night.
Play NHL 94 against each other. We'll have a matchup.
Stream it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
I love it. Yeah,
you got that little console, like the little handheld console, right?
It's right over there. Yeah.
Is it any good?
I play it once in a while. It's kind of just like a way to kill time when I'm doing other stuff. Honestly, I don't know if I would buy it again, but it has been fun to play some of the old games. I'm a big Pokemon guy. I love like games where RNG rules the day and you got to grind a little bit to get stuff done. And all the custom ROMs for Pokemon are pretty good, I got to say. I
just have to say, somebody's asking in the chat, is there any Bitcoin meetups taking place? There's one taking place at Insolvency Brewery in Waterloo. Bakery, because that's anyways, Insolvency Brewery in Waterloo, April 20th. I think it's supposed to start around 5:30 p.m. give or take. So if you just go search on Twitter, Insolvency Brewery, Twitter, Bitcoin meetup, you'll find the
message D. D's running it, right? He's organizing it or trying to.
No, he's just like a participant, just like you and I.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, I think we're giving away a shirt or something, or some shirt. I don't know what's going on, because we're official sponsors of that. So we should.
I don't know. I still don't really know how that happened, but yeah, I'll be there. It should be good. 420 plays it.
Are you going?
420 half it. Yeah, I'm gonna try. If it's a Saturday, I'm gonna go.
It is a Saturday. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and go. Unless I have like a football playoff game, then maybe not. But I should be okay. I think it's all right. It's a week before the playoffs start, I'm pretty sure.
Are we staying up late over there if the halving takes place? 2, 3, 4 now? Are we gonna be like hardcore?
You guys want to grind out these parties and just like make them the least enjoyable possible experience. Like you're staying up late, 40 minutes from home. Like, no, I will not be doing that. But I will go for a beer.
It's an hour for
everyone's going. Yeah, it's far for you. I know.
It's a and my card, if it gets there, it's a miracle. But I keep pushing it. And it's just tough going up hills these days.
We got a couple of other meetups in the chat. One smart fella, Halifax and Charlottetown on the East Coast do meetups every month, and then Boom Dust in Ottawa at the Glebe Central Pub this Wednesday. I think Boomer does meetups almost every month now, right? Pretty sure in Ottawa.
I think it's once a month.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to get a whole bunch of more prominent people that are outside of Bitcoin to come there, given that its proximity to its nation capitals of people coming in.
Yes, capital region.
So, yeah. Okay. So let's
Shall we? Where do you want to start?
I want to do the Bitcoin pump, because that seems to be the biggest.
It's the news of the day.
Story. Well, before we even talk about what happened today, today was a fun one. Woke up this morning and geez, the price of Bitcoin was 72-ish, 71-ish. Interestingly enough, Joey, this is the third Sunday in a row where we went to bed and wake up in the morning, Monday morning, and the price pumped. There's a pattern here. I don't know what is causing it, but for whatever reason, the Sunday overnight, there seems to be a lot of money coming in and boosting up the price of Bitcoin. I'm not sure exactly what's the cause of it, but that just seems to be so. If you want to trade it, go ahead, but I wouldn't recommend it. Anyways, one thing I do want to talk about is Coinbase, because they do this thing over and over again, but they didn't do it today. So good for them that they were either asleep at the switch or they just didn't give a shit anymore. Because up until today, there was 3 separate incidents that Coinbase were having issues, and it was a variety of issues. So where people were unable to get onto your account, they couldn't see anything, any balance. So server issues, then it was technical issues, a whole bunch of these fucking things. But yeah, the funny thing is, it happened 3 times, and each of those times was when the price of Bitcoin was running up. So, as a fan of baseball, that's a strikeout, man. Like, I did, fucking, I'd say go back to the dugout and fucking think about what you've done. But somebody mentioned on Twitter, and they said this, and I fucking laughed when I saw that. They said that Coinbase is like the circuit breaker that trips when the price of Bitcoin goes up. And I, for some reason, I found it to be hilarious. I don't think that's the case, but the question remains, though, like, what happened? Like, for me, I don't think it's on purpose. I don't think there's any nefarious activities going on. They're trying to do anything, because let's be honest, how much influence does Coinbase have with respect to lowering the price of Bitcoin if they go offline? It doesn't change anything with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what it is. Just because you can't buy from a particular exchange, does it make Bitcoin any less valuable? I would argue no, but somehow.
What do you think it is? You think it's just like they have a history dating back to 2016, 17 of having trouble anytime there's a price rip. And, I think Wayfaring, who wrote an article for the website you guys should check out, made a note of the traffic on Coinbase during these big price rips. If you look at this price rip compared to 2020, 2021, significantly less volume on the platform. So to your point, Len, can they really affect the price? Probably not, but it makes it even weirder that they keep going down as the price rips, because more people are trading off of that platform than ever before. And, as Wayfaring points out in his article, there's just not enough traffic to, expect an interruption in service. It's not good, man. It's not good at all. And they're the only guys in the space, really. Like, what have you been doing for the last 5 years besides, running your own shitty layer 2 base token and refusing to say Bitcoin on Twitter? It certainly hasn't been anything to do with preparing your service for, the highway full of people who are going to come and use it during the next bull cycle. It's frustrating. It's big time frustrating. I mean, how could it not be?
I agree, but they're not truly associated with Bitcoin, right? Because if you look at the services they offer, it's a variety of services. Sure, they sell Bitcoin, but they sell a whole bunch of other stuff, including they provide staking services for some really shitty products out there.
Yeah.
So if you think about what is Coinbase, well, they are a variety of things. It's certainly just not Bitcoin. So for them going down, I don't think it's a huge thing in the grand scheme of things. I still don't understand how this impacted their price negatively. And in terms of the volume, Dan Webb from the High Hash Rate podcast, he was saying a couple of weeks ago when he was on our show, when I was interviewing him, he was saying that the volume, if it spikes, that causes a problem. If it's a gradual run up, then it's okay, because then they're able to spin up new computers and have everything just catch up. But just a sudden spike, that could be problematic. I don't know if that's the case with Coinbase. This is his thinking. It could be totally wrong. I don't know, but it sounds plausible. But you're right. If you go look at the volume which took place, I think it was April 2021. The volume at that time was the highest I've seen it. And there was so many orders being put in for the buys and sells. At that time, Binance went down, Coinbase went down, and a whole bunch of others. But the amount of volume that we experienced in the past couple of weeks, it pales in comparison to what happened during April 2021. Now, I have to really look at it more in depth. Maybe it's just I'm looking at this, so rose-colored glasses, but that's the way I remember it. It was just crazy fucking volume, and a few exchanges went down. Now, another thing is there is no Binance US. At least I don't think they're operating in the United States. So with that being the case, you now have the rest of them picking up the slack. But you now have Kraken, which is doing well. There you go. So what is that yellow line there? What year is that? 2020.
Yeah. So this is for people who are listening only. There's a chart in Wayfaring's article that has the volume by year on Coinbase. So you have that 2020 blow up here. That's got to be March 2020, probably, right?
Yes.
And then you see again here, this is probably that April 2021, and then November 2021. That's
probably May. That second one was probably May when the China banned Bitcoin mining.
No,
I'm guessing.
why would that lead to a huge spike in? I think these
Look
are.
at
I think one
look at
is
the dates
probably
at the bottom, 2022, and
yeah.
go back a couple of months, and
Oh,
you
maybe yeah. This is too. It is too close. You're right.
so that I would say that's April and May or slash June. That's my
Yeah.
guess.
Okay. So then, I mean, you could, but the point of the chart is that if you look at the traffic from 24, I mean, come on, it pales in comparison. It's nothing, right? It's Muggsy
Yeah.
Bogues next to George Mearson. And so what?
No,
Why
no,
are
no.
they
Who is it? It's Bogues next to Deke.
Deke? You want to do Dikembe? Okay, sure.
Because weren't they on the same team? Did they play together in the Sixers, or am I wrong?
I don't think so.
Or that's Spud Webb?
Web maybe, but not
Okay,
but
because
anyway, so the point is that the volume here is like way low. It's super low. And there's no reason, 3 years later, 2 years later, that you should be having the same problems. It doesn't make sense, right? And so I think when people say, like, I'm with you. I don't think it's like on purpose, but when people say that there's something going on at Coinbase that's causing the price to stop ripping, I think that's true. I just don't think it's intentional. I think it's just, incompetence
incompetent.
and
Yeah.
lack of prioritization by them, right? They've been working on a million things, but clearly not making sure that everyone can get to their Bitcoin to make a trade when the price is ripping. So, make of that what you will. Pick a better service. Pick Bull Bitcoin. Pick anyone that'll let you go to Shoppers Drug Mart and give you cash, and your cash will be in your account when you get back. Piece of cake is nothing to it. You never have to
Even
worry about that. You never have to worry about Bull Bitcoin going down. You just bring your money to Shoppers and that's it.
even Swan, we haven't talked all that fondly of them lately, but Dan was there to point out that they didn't go down
Yeah.
in the past little while. They were able to stay up, and they're Bitcoin only, right? That's the only
Yeah.
product they sell. So I mean, if you're gonna buy, I mean, that may be another option. Of course, that's custodial. So I would always suggest non-custodial services. At least, if you're gonna buy, pull it out right away. But that's just a topic for another time. But yeah, Coinbase is it's fucked up, and they're the largest exchange out there. Did they eclipse Binance? I don't know. At least for publicly
ETF
traded.
custodian, largest exchange, the most, friendly with the government. They're basically an arm of the US government at this point. I think that's fair to say. And
Yeah,
this is their, this is the way they behave. I still have my
and so
bet, of course. I'm
you
not going to
mentioned
sell them until I
something.
get super rich off that. But
You mentioned they're the custodian of the ETFs. Not just them. Also, they custodian some of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin as
yeah,
well. A
yeah,
portion of that. I don't know what portion. So why, after seeing all these issues they have with volume being just meh, why would we trust them to hold on to our keys? There's going to come a time when you want to take your Bitcoin off. What happens if volatility is so high and volume is off the charts? You can't sell your fucking Bitcoin. So you can't sell your ETF because they just not going to allow you to do so, or they're not going to let you pull out, or something along those lines. This is a good exercise for people out there that just don't understand. Please look at custodying your Bitcoin. That's one of the beautiful things that Bitcoin allows you to do. You can hold on to your Bitcoin just like if you were to hold on to your gold. You're not having your gold held by the bank. You have it in your possession. It's in your hands, so to speak, digitally at least. So that's what Bitcoin allows you to do. Learn how to do that. If you could do that, you've created so much flexibility moving forward, and it's one less hurdle or many hurdles that you have to jump moving forward. And that's going to be a huge thing when shit
yeah,
hits the fan.
yeah. I agree with you there. Pump's been fun. It's not over, I don't think. So we'll wait and see where the price goes. But I think now, like, 100K by having it's in play for sure. I mean, there's obviously like a pretty strong correlation with the S&P and the NASDAQ at this point, and Nvidia is basically holding the world economy together like a glue stick in a hurricane at this stage. But as you mentioned, we've had a couple of days where we've been up and the NASDAQ's been down. We're kind of closely correlated to gold now. And again, like we talked about on the show, there's a lot of people who spent a lot of time and staked their reputation, I think, in some cases, on how this thing was just a vacuum for liquidity and would only go up in price when the market was flooded with stimulus money and money was cheap via rates. But I mean, what do you have to say about this? Rates are 5.25%, whatever they are in the States, 5.25% here, 5.25% in Europe. Central banks clearly working together to try and keep the economy in a quote unquote restrictive environment. And it's not working. It's just not working. So, I mean, if you think they're going to cut this year, one rate cut, quarter point or half a point is all it's going to take to send this thing to 85 from here. And that's assuming we don't get there on our own with the ETF inflows before then. And the halving, I mean, all this stuff is, you got to be crazy to be selling now is the sort of point I'm getting to here. I can't imagine looking at this and saying to somebody like, yeah, this is the time I'm going to get out. I got to get out right now. It's insane. I know there's people who bought, at 60K, 50K, the last peak, haven't looked at it since, and now see it at the high and just get out. Fine. I don't know how many people are like that, but if you're selling in this environment with everything stacked against you right now in terms of macroeconomic factors, the only thing working in your favor is the ETFs. The broader market, save for Nvidia, basically everything else is tumbling, maybe Meta as well. You're going to sell at an all-time high in that environment? I don't know, man. Like that's, to me, not financial advice ever from us, but not a great move. I would say not a great move.
No, if they need the money to pay off bills, or they want to use that to gains to purchase something, all the more power to them. This Bitcoin is not one of the things it's used for is medium of exchange. It's not you're not supposed to hold it until the end of your days. So if somebody, if they have bills to pay and it's just too much for them to pay it, all the more power to them if they could sell whatever they have, whatever gain, and make some gains out of it and pay off those bills and live a life that could potentially be much easier moving forward. I have no issues with that. Or if they want to use that to buy a new car or a new house, whatever, you can't live in Bitcoin.
I just think there's a lot of stuff I would sell first before that at the moment. I just want to point out Grace 2 is on X commenting about the volume, saying the volume is lower on that chart I just showed from Wayfaring because less gets traded as fiat price of Bitcoin increases. I'm not sure if that's accounted for in Wayfaring's chart, but that's a good point. So it's something to think about. I know Wayfaring was in the chat earlier. I'm not sure if he's still there, but yeah, I mean, you don't want to be a forced seller, right? I think that's the other, that is a piece of advice I'd give people. That is financial advice. Don't be a forced seller. Don't put yourself in a situation where you need to get out of Bitcoin as soon as the high hits because you took on some stupid debt or you have an expense that's not really a necessity, but just a want, and you just have to get out now because you didn't save enough money on the side. You don't have any cash, you don't have any stocks, you don't have any whatever. You don't want to be a forced seller of this thing, not right now, which is rare because I think in the past, if I look at the COVID drop, people sold Bitcoin first when that stock market crashed and they had to cover shorts or whatever else they had to do. I'm not sure you'd see the same result now if you ended up in that situation. I'm not sure people would go to sell Bitcoin first. We'll see maybe if we do get a significant, shot to the ribs here, economically speaking. But for now, I just think like, man, you'd be crazy to be selling this thing. It's just getting started, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you in spirit, but there are going to be times, one-offs, that you're going to have to. Even in the chat, we had somebody mentioning, I don't want to say his name just in case we'll dox him, said he had to sell to pay a car repair bill. So I mean, if you don't have anything else,
an expense, yeah.
I mean, this happens, and this is Bitcoin. It's it's used as a medium of exchange. But remember, the one thing that I always say, and because I'm here and I don't want to give bad advice, especially with CRA, remember, any trade with Bitcoin, when you're moving that into anything else, it's a taxable event.
Yeah.
So once you exchange Bitcoin to something else, you can figure out what something else is. It's a taxable event. Make sure you record that and document it and declare that to CRA or whatever tax jurisdiction you live in, if it's required, just in case.
Yeah. Be on the up and up, Don't anyway.
Somebody else who doesn't plan to sell, in fact, they don't have the opportunity yet to sell, but they may want to buy, is Arizona. And they're conjuring up the idea of adding Bitcoin ETFs to their retirement portfolio. And this comes off because the Arizona Senate, they passed a bill to propose them to add this to their retirement portfolio. So the Arizona Senate is on board with this. And the two state portfolios are the Arizona State Retirement System and the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System. And they each hold $49.1 billion for the first one, and the second one $19.5 billion. So it's a significant amount. This has Dennis Porter's fingerprints all over it, right? Like, this is just a breaking right away. So I'm looking at this, and the amount of money they have assets under management, there's no way in heck you're going to put a large percentage. It's going to be very, very small, 1%, a portion of 1%, whatever heck it may be, towards Bitcoin. This is probably the first of many, especially with this run up. There's going to be a lot of FOMO coming in. Bonds aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, in terms of managing your, keeping your head above water. And you're talking about the stock market, aside from Meta and Nvidia for the past little while. It's been sideways movement for the most part. Didn't Apple and Microsoft do pretty well recently though?
Apple's having a hard time. Yeah.
Really?
Microsoft, yeah. But
Why?
these stalwarts, Mag 7, I don't know. I mean, they released a virtual reality headset that looks like shit. Like, it's not, like there's no innovation. We're kind of stuck. To take a phrase from Lindy Man, we're in stuck culture mode here. Like, the innovation is becoming more and more difficult because everything's got to be consumer facing. Consumers don't want to change. So, I'm not 100% sure that that those companies have an easy road ahead of them here. Plus, I've heard whispers on the Apple side that Tim is, thinking about retiring, which is crazy. He's basically the last of the old guard, right? From
He's
the
been
Apple
there for a
heyday.
long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And those are some hard hours, especially under Steve Jobs. He wasn't an easy guy to work for. And he was one of the two under him. Him and Johnny Ive, I think, was the other one.
And Ive left years ago, right? So
he did. When he wasn't picked, I think he left. I think I could be wrong. Those are some hard hours he put in. And yeah, he's not getting, he's not a spring chicken. I'm going to guess he's in his early 60s. Am I right with his age? I could be wrong.
Tim?
Yeah.
He's probably 62, 63. Yeah.
Yeah. So early 60s. So he's done his time in purgatory, so to speak. Let him enjoy the rest of his life. He doesn't have to spend the rest of his life over there. But anyways, to go back to Arizona State, I think this is something that is going to be copied, especially if they're able to put some on their balance sheet relatively soon and make gains.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't other states do the same thing? Especially once you see gains, you see your neighbors doing something, you tend to want to copy what they're doing. And even if it's a small amount, even if they're putting 0.5% in, which is a significant amount, and that outperforms every other asset class they have. And in some cases, if it does well enough, it might be the best performing asset they have just in terms of actual dollars they're getting from it.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense that others are going to do the same. So I see this as good. But ETFs, I wish they could hold their own keys. There's got to be a way Arizona could hold their own keys, right? If they want to talk to me, I'll show them the way. We'll figure this out. There's got to be some solution we could come to. But either way, there's going to be more and more money piling into these Bitcoin ETFs. And
why would they not, right? Like these are the guys who are in the most trouble in terms of their allocation to bonds and fixed income. You need something that's going to return for you. And, you can use Bitcoin, I think, at some point in the near future. I was actually just saying this to my dad this morning, that, at some point in the near future, you're going to be able to use Bitcoin as collateral for loans pretty regularly. I think banks will get more involved in custody and allow you to do that. And pensions and whatnot and public treasuries can do this too. There's no reason it has to be just a MicroStrategy thing to put it on your balance sheet. Now, Arizona can't issue equity to do it. Of course, they can't just, spend debt, but
why not?
Well, I mean,
I'm kidding.
They're things, but they probably aren't doing it for that. But it is funny though. Like the only thing it takes is someone, like you mentioned, saying to their investment board, "Man, see what Arizona just did? They're up, 38% this year on that investment. That 1 billion is 2 billion after 5 years, or that 1 billion is 6 billion after 10 years. We should have done that. What are we going to do? We got to keep up." Because you're not trying to keep up with the index once other people in your silo are using Bitcoin. You're trying to keep up with Bitcoin. And for the first time now, a lot of these, traditionally conservative investment vehicles are looking at Bitcoin, and they're going to start to see the gains. They're going to start to get a taste for what it's like to experience an asset that has no counterparty risk. There is no quarterly reporting. There is no execution problems. There is no CEO sex scandal. It's just there. It's a scarce asset. It's digitally held, decentralized, and it's easy, honestly, when you compare it to all these other things that they're worried about, tertiary side effects and risks, concerning risks, right? So to me, this is a no-brainer. I expect to see more of it. And like we talked about last week, a lot of the ETFs that these guys buy anyways, when they're buying equities for their pensions, especially, we talked about Ontario, but we can talk about these guys too. They're going to start having Bitcoin in their ETFs. Like fixed income ETFs are not going to be all bonds, all gold, all cash anymore. They're going to be some Bitcoin in there, and you're going to be saying to yourself as a board or as an investment, committee, why are we buying Bitcoin through this vehicle, but not spot and holding it and taking advantage of the stuff that it allows us to do, the optionality, like you said earlier, of holding your own keys. you're gonna start seeing this more and more. I think it's inevitable, and I'm looking forward to it, man. It's like a whole new world for these guys that we've been talking about for years, but is now just opening up to people who, as I've mentioned, are going to come into the space with a bunch of new ideas. Some of them we're not going to like, some of them we are, and it's exciting for people in Bitcoin. It should be, anyways, and it should be exciting for people who are getting into it now for the first time too.
You talked about gold. You just mentioned it very briefly. The circle jerk they were having, was it last week, the weekend? I don't know what the fuck it was, when the price of gold was around or reached 2,200, right? That was
Didn't reach it. Didn't reach it yet. It got over 21. It's
21,
close
sorry.
to 22 now though, Len. It's like let's
And
see, it's 2182. Like that's a high number.
Well, somebody in our chat, and I don't want to dox him just in case he doesn't want to be doxxed. He did mention that adjusted for inflation, that number is the all-time high for gold is 2,800. So if you do the math, we're a long way away from that.
That's the inflation adjusted high. Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Yeah. So sure. That, we're fucking 2,100, 2,200 with respect to gold. Give me a fucking break. Do the numbers, add it up, and you'll see it's just they're still treading water at best.
Yeah.
And it's a manipulated market altogether. But another pension, or at least something, right, another investment fund, in this case, this is the Stanford University student organization. This is the Charles R. Blyth Fund. They mentioned that they are going to be looking into buying some, or they already have allocated some of their portfolio into Bitcoin. Now, this fund, it's only a 6-figure portfolio. Right now, it has stocks, bonds, other assets, now Bitcoin. So it's not, a huge value here. 6 figures is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. But what they are doing is interesting, and it could be a copy pasta that could be done moving forward with other schools. So 7% of their portfolio has been allocated towards Bitcoin, and they said that they have purchased the BlackRock ETF when it was at 45K. So in a very short order, their investment outperformed everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why they opted for the ETF and not hold your own keys. There may be some limitations from the fund preventing them from holding these keys. I do not know, but hopefully they will learn about the fundamentals that Bitcoin has to offer and encourage them to buy spot Bitcoin and put it in cold storage. But with respect for them to their Bitcoin holdings right now, this is really bullish. And looking at a whole bunch of student-led, this is a student-led initiative. This is the next generation of people coming up. And if they're showing that they could outperform these geezers out there that are managing these large pension funds, why wouldn't anybody else do the same thing? This I find to be extremely bullish, and I'd love to see that this could be copied more so moving forward. But they also have to take into consideration the risk that comes along with it. What goes up can come down. And like I said at the beginning of the show, this could come down hard, fast, and I don't know what the bottom would be. Are they ready for it? Who the fuck knows? But this is fun to watch.
Why do you think that? I mean, I get the caution on your part, but what makes you think that the crashes are going to be as violent as they've been in the past now that you have this kind of perpetual ETF bid? I mean, the inflows are 200, 300 million a day, more sometimes. I think last Friday we crossed 500 million in inflows. So what makes you think the demand? I mean, eventually you're going to have GBTC stop selling, and the inflows, I mean, they might level out, but it's like what would the crash have to be for it to be violent like it's been in the past? I think I honestly, I don't want to bite my tongue here later on, but like if you told me to place a bet on whether or not I thought we were done with 50% crashes or not, I think I would say we were done with them. 50% or more, I think I'd say we were done. I think we're going to be a lot more tame now as far as these like wild volatility swings in the price, just because of that perpetual bid, that floor that the ETFs help set. You can't sell on Saturday if you're an ETF guy. So like that's another thing, right? Like the markets are closed. People gather their wits. They talk to their advisors. They do all these things. It's another point of friction. And that's where the money is, right? It's the guys who have been holding so long spot. They're not going to sell on a price dip anyway. So that if you look at the hodl waves, like let's say if you're a 12-month holder or whatever the number is, you're not going to sell it at 20%. So you're not going to contribute to more of a dip. If you're an ETF person, you're not going to be able to sell as soon as you want to because you have to go through your advisor potentially. And if you're someone who holds ETF you're on your own. I mean, maybe you sell, but do you sell all of it or do you buy more? Like, have you learned about the BTFD sort of mantra, right? It's a mimetic world. I think there's potential that we've kind of seen the last of this because of these things. I don't want to jinx it, but when I think about all those things together, it seems unlikely we continue to get these like 75, 80% drops, even 50%. Like I said earlier, seems like a bit of a stretch now.
What was the number you quoted coming in? 200 million a day?
Yeah, 200 or 300, I think. Yeah.
Why can't it be the reverse when things are people are angry with Bitcoin for whatever reason? Why can't that be a negative 200 to 300 million?
It could, but I think for me, the points of friction on the way out are greater than the points of friction on the way in. You know what I mean? Like if you got to talk to your advisor doesn't want you to sell. Presumably you've been waiting to buy the Bitcoin. I mean, if you look at pent up demand, there's something to that. The inertia that this is coming from on the buy side, you're not going to get the same inertia out. It doesn't really make sense to have both. You can't have both. The pent up demand for the inflows is one thing, but you're not going to have pent up demand for the outflows. You know what I'm saying? Like this doesn't make sense to me.
Anything is possible, Joey. And you were saying that you can't do it on the weekend. Now I just looked at the last 3 weekends. What happened on Sunday night, Monday morning, before markets opened up, we went in February 25th to the 26th. That was Sunday into Monday. We went from 51 to 54.
Yeah.
Pretty good jump when the markets were closed. Then
when the North American market's closed, market's closed. Yeah. China and Europe, parts of China and Europe are open, right? So
then it just goes to show you this could happen 24/7. Just about, unless for that brief moment where markets are closed.
Fair enough.
So because it's Saturday from
you can't, but enough of the market's not open to move the price 50% and keep moving the price action quickly in one direction. I think those days are. I honestly think those days are done. I think they're done.
You know what? I've seen enough of this, and anything is possible. And I am not going to bat an eye if over a period of time, it's not going to happen in a week, but over a 6 month to a 1 year period of time, theoretically, you go from like 72 back to 20 over a long enough period of time. I would not fucking bat an eye. There could be many different reasons why this happens. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me one fucking bit. So we'll leave it at that. Next up, Joey, Mutiny Wallet. We talked about this very little, right? Very, very little. They claim to be a non-custodial, fully automated Lightning wallet for mobile devices with Nostr integration. And up until now, this was only available for browsers. And people, Mutiny decided to rectify this, and they released the iOS and Android version. So people can now download it from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And it has been a little while since I have used Mutiny Wallet. I've tried it out several months ago. So it's hard for me to say exactly how it is right now. But at the time, I had some issues with it. It's good that it's no longer 100% browser based. I wouldn't trust a wallet that is wholly browser based. There's a bunch of reasons for it, because a browser is a utility that you're using, and the security around that, I think it's rather suspect at best. You never know what's going to happen. But when I did try Mutiny some time ago, I'm not sure if they changed it, but when I did, Mutiny defaulted to their own servers. At the time, I tried looking to see how it is to run my own server. The process wasn't very straightforward. So I think that's kind of a knock against them. And when I was digging into this a little bit further, people that make Mutiny, like, I'm just looking at this now, I formed the opinion that the best approach is something which is open source, which Mutiny is. So it's open source, great. But I also like running something locally. I want to have my own servers running it, the whole 9 yards. I want to have so much control. Seems that Mutiny is getting there, but right now it's just not there. So I'm going to give them credit that they are moving into the right direction, but opening it up for something on the App Store or the Play Store, it's just the front end, the way I understand it, for something on the browser. The real way to use this, the proper way to use this, would be to run your own server, to point everything to it, and just to try to get as much custody of your Bitcoin rather than relying on somebody else's server. By doing so, you have way more control, and privacy is then, you could control the privacy at that particular moment. So yeah, I just want to say that there's good and bad with Mutiny. I'm not going to say it's all good, but it's certainly not all bad. It's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, Opti in the chat saying there's trade-offs. I mean, there's trade-offs with all this stuff, man. Like the likelihood that we start getting wallets that have figured out these massive swaps between custody and trust, and especially on the Lightning side, it's going to be very, very difficult. So I'm not holding my breath for that. But like you mentioned, it's going to get better, and it's getting better. All the wallets are competing against each other now in a way they haven't been before, thanks to the fee market and thanks to just the pure volume of people coming into the space. I'm looking forward to seeing what, is it possible in your mind that a firm like Fidelity or BlackRock puts together a small team to work on something like Lightning?
I haven't even thought about that.
I don't know if it is
or
not. Yeah, I don't know, but it's at least not out of the realm of possibility anymore. The Overton window has expanded so much in the last 2 months. Now that these guys are on board and want to make the network as strong and valuable as possible, this is, I think it's important stuff. And I don't know if they're talking about it at that level yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Fidelity Digital put out a research paper on Lightning in the next, month, 2 months.
Yeah, see, I talked about this. I mentioned it once in our other chat, that the reason why I don't see a lot of development going on with Lightning, there is development, but it seems like there's other things that are getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And the reason why is there's not much money that could be made within Lightning. When you set up your own side chain or something like along those lines, there are potentials to make some or a lot of money because you can control the whole system. With Lightning, let's be honest, you could route fees, but how?
Okay, but here's the thing, right? Don't think about the routing fees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about the bigger picture. If you're a Fidelity or a BlackRock, mm-hmm. and you want this thing to rip, okay, you've already sold your clients on the store of value narrative. They get it. They're buying it at, in droves. What if you could start selling them on, okay, this is actually an international settlement asset for the individual as well as the corporation, the central bank, and the state, nation state actor. And here's how it is. It's Lightning Network. We're developing a Lightning Network wallet or app or something because they're driving the value of the sort of capital B Bitcoin network, right? And that drives value for their investment. It drives value for their customers, drives value for their bottom line. That's more what I mean. Like, I don't think BlackRock is going to put together a bunch of fucking nodes. Like, they're not going to do that.
No, but
BlackRock's not going to be opening channels. Like, they're not going to be doing that.
I didn't express myself properly. The reason why they wouldn't do anything with respect to Lightning is because there's no money in it. They're fiat driven. They're trying to increase their profitability. And by spinning up something else that they could push out and say, look, this is an easy way then to settle money on a global scale. Oh, by the way, we could also take a little bit of the cut on the side, like a Fedimint, for instance, right? You don't know, where they are involved, or a sidechain where they are involved. I could see that being more, being something that they'll push more so.
You think,
I would imagine so, because they have their hand in the pot and they could take every time they want to, rather than with Lightning, which as a Bitcoiner, I'd prefer to see. There are limitations with Lightning. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect, but right. I could see them wanting to either build something else or tap into something else that's already pre-built where they could get a little bit of slice of the pie. That's what I think they would do. They're profit driven. They're not Bitcoin driven. If they were Bitcoin driven, they would do Lightning. But maybe I could be proven wrong, and I hope I'm proven wrong. But I suspect that it's.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Let's talk about, since we're talking about development, something called Portal. I'm not sure if you saw this. It's from 22 devices, and it's a new mobile native hardware wallet, Portal. Yeah. And this one works with a smartphone. So if you have a smartphone like I do and everybody else does, it works with that. It's really interesting. It's open sourced. That's good. And it uses NFC to communicate with the phone. But not only that, the NFC also powers the device. So it's using the power from the phone.
I knew you were going to like this. Look at the smile on your face. I knew you were going to like this thing as soon as I saw it.
It's interesting, but it's not perfect, because let's be honest, NFC is good, but it's not, there's always going to be some questions surrounding that, especially when you're dealing with your own money here. But there is no physical connection. That's what I'm trying to get at with this NFC. And you could pre-order these devices right now, $100 USD, expected to be shipped either the summer of 2024 this year or Q3 of 2024. So you're going to get it within the next 6 months or so if you pre-order it now. So the good, it's open source. I like that.
Yeah.
The bad, I'm gonna say NFC. Like anything to do with NFC, you know, with my cold card, I turned all that shit off. I turned NFC out. Like it's totally air gap. Now I understand why they want to do this. If it's for a phone, it's going to be for funds you want to spend on the go, right? So, but even there, right away causes me an issue, because when I'm talking about funds that I have that's associated with my phone, there's going to be some security holes. Like a phone is not secure, no matter what phone you're running. There's always going to be some security problems with it. So you're not going to have a lot of Bitcoin associated with it. I hope not. You're going to use this for your spending, but still, this poses a problem. In my mind, it's hard for me to wrap what is the best way moving forward, because ultimately people are going to want to spend Bitcoin, and they will spend Bitcoin on the go. You can't spend it from home from your computer. You got to spend it on the go with your phone. So somehow you're going to have to find a way to make use of whatever technology you have to spend it. Maybe this might be it. I don't know. But I think in my eyes, if I were to do it, guessing have Zeus on my phone connected to my home Lightning node, that is probably the most secure. Or even going a little bit further, maybe having my Linux phone and running something on that where I could actually, you know, it's more of a secure phone and more of a secure OS. Maybe that is the better way to do it, because I don't want to lose anything with my Bitcoin. I want to have that totally secure, or as secure as possible with me. But I have to understand the fact we have to live in reality here, and people are not going to go to those extremes. So maybe Portal is the answer. I don't know. I'm curious to see how this works in the real world, though.
Portal looks cool. It's open source. The hardware looks really, really nice. It's like a really fly looking piece of hardware. I don't know what the plan is though for hardware wallets and small spends as the fees go up. So I get the need to have this thing like working with your phone, but like, are you going to spend, you know, like what is the minimum? Like, let's say it's 1 million sats, right? What's 1 million sats right now? $1,000. You're gonna keep $1,000
Canadian.
Yeah.
It's like
So
700.
you gonna do that for your Bitcoin on your phone and just keep your wallet with you all the time? Like,
that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I don't know that you would, right? I'm not sure that you would do that. And so the thing I think about more and more, and I don't know if this is even feasible, but are we heading toward a world where you actually are just spending fiat against the Bitcoin you hold, and what you're actually looking for is not quite a hardware wallet, but rather like a hardware like stack verification device of some kind? Like, here's what I have, here's what I can send you via Lightning another time, and like you trade on trust. You know, I know it's a dirty word here, but and then you
would it be an open dime? Then you just hand it over physically?
Kinda, maybe something like that, or even like you know, here's a you know, a signed set of data that says this is how much Bitcoin is in this wallet at this address. I want to spend this much fiat, and then you settle with like a third party at a later date or something, like a credit card almost against your Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin just doesn't move. Like, to me, that's kind of where you're headed in the fee market, the way it is. I as much as I like the hardware, I'm a big guy, like a big trinket guy, but I don't see how, as fees go up, anyone is using any of this stuff anymore. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't fit with the economics of Bitcoin as the price rises.
There's one thing that's going to be taking place. It's the halving. The halving is expected to happen on April 20th. So do your research when it's going to take place as we get closer to it. But on the halving date, the 84,000th block, 840,000 block. What is it? IOU podcast. I like that. So there's going to be Casey Rodimer's releasing. Fuck, I forget the name of that stupid thing that he's going to release. Runes. That's it. And that potentially can clog up the mempool.
Perfect. So, 2 for 2 from this guy.
Yeah, it just keeps going. Bunch of winners. So what I'm trying to say is, if you haven't yet consolidated your UTXOs, and if you don't know how to do it, reach out to me. I'll be happy to show you the process. Do it now. Like the fees, take a look really quick.
I'm looking right now. They're 30 sats per VByte for high priority. Yeah, 27. So you're about 30 anyways, no matter where you sit in the
priority. They're cheap. In my opinion, they're cheap.
Cheaper than they're gonna like to, sure, right? That's always the answer. Cheaper than they're gonna be.
You may want to wait, but really do it now. Do it yesterday, but don't wait till tomorrow, because you never know what's going to happen. Apparently, this whole runes shit on 420 is going to fuck things up. And if you haven't consolidated by then, you're going to wish you've done so. I could be wrong though. Maybe fees will remain cheaper.
Not technical advice, not financial
No,
advice.
it's certainly, but it's a good opportunity for people to understand how to do consolidation of your UTXOs, because you're always going to be doing this if you have on-chain transactions. Is buying Bitcoin now, because it's so expensive, it's going to be hard to buy big chunks of Bitcoin. So you're going to have these smaller transactions now that's going to be associated with your hardware device. And so,
Yeah.
you know, that's what I'm trying to say. Learn how to do consolidation of transactions right away, because it only makes sense. And if you need help, let me know.
Pretty easy. Sparrow does a good job making it easy for you too. If you haven't, tried it on Sparrow, I recommend it. It's very, very simple.
Let's see. Do we have anything else you want to talk? Do you want to talk about really quick, BlackRock wanting to put Bitcoin exposure on their high yield fund? So I don't
What a
really want to
shock.
talk about.
What a shock. I mean, we don't have to talk about it. I'd rather not, actually, because I can feel my meds wearing off here. We gotta
Okay, we get
push. Let's push through. Yeah, let's push through.
Let's do this. End the Bitcoin related stuff. Thank you for listening in. For the video side, it's going to be a seamless transition to the next part. So with that, don't be a cock.
Okay, 5608. All right, let's rip other notable stories here from
notables,
the adjacent Bitcoin world here.
Yeah, it's very notable. BRICS. Yeah, we haven't mentioned much about BRICS lately, but the Russian news agency TASS, they're reporting that BRICS is going to start working on the creation of a payment system.
Yes.
And this is going to be based on what they claim to be blockchain and digital technologies. The fuck does that even mean? I'm guessing it's going to be a CBDC, but I could be wrong. Given the fact that China has released a CBDC, at least on a pilot scale, so there is some technical knowledge on how to roll it out. I'm not sure if any of the other BRICS nations also have that type of history, but I'm guessing that's what it is. Hopefully there's no pre-mine and tokenomics or air gap involved, because then it would be truly a shitcoin. But a lot of this has to do with de-dollarization. So this is going to help them in terms of achieving that goal, to streamline payments. And maybe, I'm not sure if this is going to be one advantage to everything, but there may be possibility to attract more people, more countries, more businesses to just adopt this type of thing. So this would be very interesting to see how it plays out moving forward. And as they continue to de-dollarize, this is going to make the US dollar less prominent in the world, and as a result, less valuable. Yeah. And that's going to have some widespread implications throughout the world. But yeah, there you go. CBDC might be coming up through BRICS, but I'm not sure how it's going to be rolled out, when, or what's it going to look like. But that's just my guess.
I expect to see this, at some point. I'm not 100% sure they have like the technical competency to do something like this. It's a difficult lift. And again, the thing you need is not so much, backing with commodities. It's two things really. It's trust between the nations who are establishing the currency, blockchain or otherwise, and it's trust from other countries who are using it. And I don't think those countries have either, do they? No. So then, like, what are we talking about? Like these guys, if they were serious about de-dollarization, they would be going to Bitcoin. Period. End of story. And they don't seem to be.
One of them probably is. We could guess that Russia probably is.
Yeah,
I don't know, ankle deep in Bitcoin. They're certainly not neck deep. But if they're doing it, they have an abundance of energy. They've been shut out of global markets.
Yeah,
it was always assumed that they're mining Bitcoin, and there's talk about that they have. They're getting involved with Bitcoin, so it makes sense. So if one of the countries are doing it, I don't know. Will all of them adopt it? Probably not, though.
Hard to say. I don't think so. But like, you know what I'm saying? We talk about how trust has failed in the modern sort of fiat economic world. Currency is a huge part of that, obviously, and the trust that's required for a fiat currency to succeed is both internal and external. And these guys have neither one. I mean, these guys, they there's these clips of the countries who are apparently collaborating on currencies. The guys refuse to drink the champagne before the other guy drinks it. These guys can't do a currency. They can't do a currency. It's not going to happen.
Would you trust it if Putin?
No, I would not drink the champagne either. I don't blame the man. Yes. I don't blame the
man. There you go. So there's no honors amongst thieves, I guess, in this case. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're able to roll something out. And you know what? We could even talk briefly about it at CBDC. Is we always talk about. I'm on the same page as you. It's a matter of when rather than if. Yeah. But we are on different pages with the when. Do you still think that the United States is going to go ahead with a CBDC relatively soon? In my opinion, I would think they're the last of the big countries. I can see Canada doing it, the UK doing it, Europe doing it first, almost a testing ground. But the United States, in my opinion, they'd be the last. It would be like
how far are you talking? What's your timeline here?
For United States or Canada and the rest of the?
I mean, Canada. I think Canada, we're inside of 5 years, but the U.S. What do you think?
I would say on a pilot scale, a pilot project, 7+ years. Like we're talking a very small, very like narrowed and controlled rollout. We're talking, this is the world currency. You can't fuck this shit up.
It's nothing two guys in a cottage can't handle. Okay, so why don't we say this then? I think we've had this conversation before, but there's a lot of people here who maybe haven't heard before us talk about this. I think we have to like talk about the definition of what a CBDC is. If it's like controlled spending in a currency that you can't save or invest in the stock market or whatever, I think we're pretty close to that. I don't know.
It's proof of authority. That's what a CBDC is. If you have a central node, the central bank issuing it, and it's not proof of work, it's not proof of stake, it's proof of authority. That's CBDC.
I don't think every dollar that's spent is going to be like that in 5 years, but I think that you're going to have some percentage of the currency, you know, if you can even call it currency at that point, in that format. I think inside of 5 years in Canada, I think it's all but guaranteed. I mean, you see the way these guys are forming like the Online Harms Act, for example. Whether you agree with the Online Harms Act or not, it requires certain things of users, certain verifications, in terms of age, identity, stuff like that. That's the first step. Everyone has these identifiers online, and then before you know it, it's on your phone. And the next step is that here's some money to spend. You know, you can tap your phone at X, Y, and Z retailer, outlet, mall, whatever. You know, pay your, I don't know what else you pay for, your veggie burger, whatever it is, right? And that'll be some percentage of the money. I don't think it'll be all the currency or all the spending in terms of like, you know, official tender in 5 years.
You know what's an easy one to capture? Boomer's saying is UBI. That's an easy one to capture.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not, right? Sure, yeah.
The second one is something you put into the market. So you buy shares in something.
Yeah.
When you sell,
you get it back
has to be
in UBI or in digital currency. Yeah, I like that too.
It has to be that.
But when Floyd Marinescu comes on in May, you know, I started looking at some of this UBI stuff because he's obviously a proponent. I do want to ask him, like, you know, has the UBI crowd thought about how detrimental this could be in the fight against digital currencies? You know, if everyone wants that $1,000, it really accelerates what would otherwise be a difficult thing to get through. You know, if you guys thought about that, do you care about it? I suspect they haven't given it much thought. I don't hold that against them. I don't think a lot of people think about this stuff, honestly, Len. I think it's like a niche thing in Bitcoin more than anything else.
A lot of it is hypothetical. Even what we're proposing, obviously, is hypothetical. There's no real world examples, especially how it would be done over here. It's just the theoretical how it can be, given what's transpired in the past little while. It just makes you wonder, why would anybody be in favor of this? It just creates more hurdles, more roadblocks. And then the reality is you may not be able to spend it where you want to. It's your money.
Can't read that out loud, but that's a good comment from Opti.
It might be.
Yeah. You never
criminals.
know,
It doesn't have to just be that segment of criminals.
That's a good testing ground. You're right.
Yeah.
Your commissary card once you leave the pen.
Yeah. Story from Fox LA. I'm not sure Fox LA gets a lot of coverage because of given where they're located, but there's a new California bill that is working its way through the legislature over there, the assembly, sorry. And it would make illegal immigrants eligible for the first-time homebuyer loans. And this is the Assembly Bill 1840, and it was introduced earlier this year. And the bill is hopefully going to expand on who is eligible for a state loan program to include undocumented migrants. And this would be for people that are first-time home buyers. And those who do qualify would be able to secure a loan that covers up to 20% of the property's purchase price that will not accumulate interest or have required monthly payments.
Oh my God.
I'll leave it at that. What more do I have to say? I'll leave it at that.
What can you even say about this? Where's this money coming from? Where's it coming from?
I don't know.
They don't want to close the border, and then they want to give home buyer loans with no interest. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, she is, and
I thought
zero down
here I
too.
am
Zero
thinking
down.
I'm loopy after days and days of cold and flu medication, but I'm actually hearing it correctly. It's completely insane. What do you mean? That's extremely notable. That's one of the more notable things ever uttered on this.
I gotta get the hair on. That's how fucking notable it is. My notable hair. So let's just keep this thing rolling on, Joey, because Egypt, this is actually pretty sad. They devalued their Egyptian pound this past week. And Egypt is
50% in a day, right? Did I see that right?
no, it's like 30, 39%,
Okay.
something like that.
Still not good, but yeah.
No, 20%. Sorry, 20% overnight. But
Okay.
Egypt, they're getting wrecked, and it's all thanks to not all that. Some of it is thanks to the Suez Canal, because it's being less utilized these days, and we could thank the security concerns that are causing it. The Houthi militants, they're causing all these shipping companies to be spooked by going into the Red Sea, and they're avoiding the area. As a result, instead of going through there, then I have to take the longer route around Africa's Cape of Good Hope.
Is it
Think of that
scenic at least?
fucking.
Is it like a nice, trip? Like, is Carnival going there on cruises or Disney, or
I
it's
have
just not really? Is
I
it a
have
gold?
no
It's gold machine gun type of body of water, or what? Like, what are we talking
I
about
have
here?
I don't know if it's choppy waters. I have no. It's just a significant delay for having goods be delivered because of the time and the fuel. Just it's a waste because they just can't cut through the Suez.
They got daylight
But
savings time over there. Daylight savings time is fucking me up good. If they don't have it over there, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. Take a little longer, but get your sleep back.
I don't know. I've been okay. I took a nap. I'm good to go already.
Right.
I love my naps. So yeah, but what I'm reading is the Suez Canal makes up revenue of about 2% of the Egypt's overall GDP. So it's not a huge amount, but it's it's a decent
It's
proportion of it.
enough. Yeah.
And so this past week we had the currency, the Egypt pound, that was weakened by some 20%. It was dropped overnight. And what was the cause of this? Because there was an $8 billion funding from the IMF and a 600 basis point rate hike by the central bank. And all this is taking place while the price of Bitcoin continues to rip.
Unreal.
And they're not the only one in the North African regions that are experiencing problems. It looks like a variety of countries in North Africa are feeling the pinch. If you look at the inflation rate collectively through those countries, it's double digits year over year. Like, it's not just like 10%, it's 20, 30% year over year. So they're really feeling the pain right now. And Boomer's saying that this is kind of fake news stuff, like Argentina, there's a black market for for this. But I still think there are people that are getting paid in Egyptian pounds, and they have to then convert it to something else like US dollars. So they're going to feel the impact. So you're talking about teachers and people along those lines. But it's so sad to see this happen. And maybe we should bring back Ali from Tahini's, because he's originally from Egypt. He gave us like a boots in the ground, or at least family with boots in the ground types of update what's going on over there. But it's fucking nuts. Assalamu alaikum, Muslim Bitcoiner. It's a Ramadan, right? Ramadan Mubarak to you, by the way. It's Ramadan right now. So yeah, this is fucked up what's going on right now in Egypt. So but it's spreading. It's just all throughout the north part of
Currency problems are, fun to talk about for us, but isn't it weird that we see the same people at the scene of the crime all the time? Central banks and the IMF, like, these guys are always there. Why are you always there? It's like, where's Waldo? If you look hard enough, you find the same guys. Augustine, he's there. He's just hanging out. On the side of Ramadan, I saw a great post today on the NBA subreddit. A Miami Heat fan claiming he's going to fast until the Heat get a victory. I think they're playing a shitty team tonight, and they lost yesterday. And someone's like, pretty sure this guy's just celebrating Ramadan.
Are they 0-4?
No. They're like on a losing streak. I think a little bit of a downward skid, but they're gonna be okay. I just had to laugh about that. I forgot. And then reminded me here, Muslim Bitcoiner, who's always in the chat.
If you notice,
when you do Ramadan, you fast till night? Is that right?
It's sunrise to sunset. So it per country it depends. So if it's summertime here, it's a long fucking time. You're not eating.
Yeah. So Ramadan only happens like what? A couple times a year? What is it? What is the cadence there? Muslim Bitcoiner, come on. What
I believe it's
get in the chat. Get in the chat.
but it's based on the lunar calendar, so it changes year over year.
Okay.
I don't know if it goes backwards next year or forwards next year, but I think it's based on the lunar calendar. But it's been a while since I looked into this. So
we await Muslim Bitcoiners confirmation there. But anyway, yeah. Oh, there he is. Sunrise to sunset. Okay. Listen, currencies, Egypt. I mean, how much has your currency been debased in the last 10 years? Any idea? 30%? 40%?
Well, you can take a look right now.
You know, like it's not that hard to figure it out. So when people are like, oh man, Egypt lost 20% in a day, like, bro, you lost 50% in the last decade. What do you think? You're immune? You think you don't, you know, you're not going through the same thing? Just because it's not a news story, just because there's not riots, doesn't mean
it's about
not happening.
1/8 where it was 15 years ago.
So there you go.
Give or take.
No, that's a bullshit number too, by the way, if I had to guess. But
1/8?
Yeah, I bet you it's fucking worse than that.
This is official from Google. So you know what's doing well though is the Mexican peso.
Oh, really?
If you go look at that in comparison to US dollar to Canadian dollar, it's doing pretty darn good, man. Let's
get our buddy Hervoye Morich, Mexican, American expat living in Mexico, Croatian expat living in Mexico. Talk to us about the currency there.
April 2020, it was 25-to-1 ratio. For every $1, you get 25 Mexican pesos. Now, $1 gets you less than 17 Mexican pesos.
Wow.
And
I did see a story today about how we are losing ground to Mexico in terms of like the second sort of economic power on the continent. So not surprising, I guess, right? If all those things are as true as they say.
You know what else is true is those fucking banks, those regional banks.
Oh man.
Yeah, so the New York Community Bank shares dropped 40% this past week in a single day. And we were talking about the BTFP, which has since ended as of today. Yeah. We were saying it was going to be ending. Well, that ending is now in the past. It's done. So, so with respect to why the New York Community Bank Corp took a dive this past week, they announced that they secured a lifeline of more than $1 billion from a group of investors this past Wednesday. They needed this money in order to stay afloat. And funny enough, too, remember, their stock price tanking. They had to borrow money just to keep their heads above water. Yeah. Well, they have a new CEO coming in, and he's starting April 1st. And this dude, Joseph Otting, is going to be paid $1.25 million plus a bonus of up to $4.5 million a year. So it's going to be up to close to $6 million a year to pay for this guy to head a bank that is failing.
I love it.
Yeah, well,
looting the empire. Like, what else you say? I saw a post. I forget who wrote it, but like this is the time where either you admit that the empire is being looted and head to the trough yourself, or you valiantly try and fix it while everyone's just getting fat and you're getting skinnier and more disease ridden. But like everyone is heading to the trough here, are they not? I mean, come on, bro. Look at what's going on in the States. And like even here, right? Like all the new Medicare spending, and everyone is at the trough. Everyone is at the trough except Boeing, who can't even screw a fucking door on a plane anymore. But everyone else is.
Why are they not? Their planes are still flying. Nobody's grounding them, and the fucking wheels are coming off.
The only guy who got grounded in relation
are getting killed.
That's a bad story. Don't even say that on the air. Oh my god!
But it's true. BBC's reporting it. I'm not fucking pulling this from some far fringe news. This is normie news. This is BBC's reporting it, and apparently he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Amazing.
That's what's being reported. So
2 of them probably. Anyway, what's next?
Sad story. Payroll numbers. We could just. Well, I'm gonna just be brief on this. 275,000 jobs were created. I love it. This is gonna be obviously revised.
Did you see what the expectation was? The analyst expectation?
184.
Like, do we really think that the market, like the government numbers, they had a 275,000 job number, they beat by 100K? Do we really think?
No, I think I'm wrong with the expect. Maybe, but either way, they're way off. Yeah, they have a number what they think it's going to be, and then what they're reporting is way over. It's like, and then they're going to revise it to way under where they thought it was going to be initially. What a fucking joke!
Yeah, insane. I'm looking here. Let's see. Yeah, 275,000 jobs. Yeah, the economists projected 200,000. So, like, you tell me, okay? The Department of Downward Revisions will get on this anyways in about a month and revise it back down to 210 or 205 or something like that. And we just had this, I don't know. Do you have the Canadian job numbers on the docket this week?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, give me those numbers. So I want to talk about those. That's a little closer to home for you and me.
Well, so 41,000 jobs were added for the month of February. And something of note is that, remember, 41,000 jobs were added just in the month of February. Last year, Canada's population grew by a little over 1 million people. We'll call it
Yes.
1 million, but it was slightly over 1 million. In that same time frame, when 1 million people, just a little bit over 1 million people came here, our employment increased 368,000 jobs. So that's like a 650,000 job difference if every one of those million people are going to work. I don't think that everyone was coming to work. Some are children, some are seniors. So I could assume 20, maybe 30% are not. But even if we're say 30% is not, that's 700,000 people that came here that probably are looking for work, but we only increased the jobs 368,000. That's a huge difference. It's a lot of people that came here that are unfortunately not going to be able or struggle to find jobs. And on top of that, there's even closures. We'll talk about that later on. But yeah, that's just the Cole's notes of the job report in Canada.
Okay, I'm dipping into my health reserves here, staying on this air, but this is important. I responded to a CTV news tweet about the 41,000 jobs created in February, and I said the actual data says public sector added 18,000, private sector lost 16,000, and self-employed, which is basically Uber and Uber Eats,
And
added,
CBP.
added 38,000 people. And in the comments, in the replies to that tweet, there's a bunch of people asking for the source, Len. The source is the StatsCan report. Like these are the people who this is the kind of person who the data is for, right? Like they look at 41,000 jobs, they clap like seals at fucking Marineland, and they don't think about what the actual jobs, where they came from, what happened, all that stuff. Now I'm gonna give a shout out to a guy who I've been following for a long time, and he follows me too. Martin Pelletier. I'm for sure saying that wrong. My French is not good enough to get that right. But he put out a great thread the other day about jobs. And it's about how the country has been materially changed since the Liberals came into power in 2016. And it's an incredible chart. We have added in the last 8 years or 9 years, the federal public service, this is his tweet, the federal public service has grown by 38% since 2015. In February, public sector jobs rose by 18,000, while the private sector lost 16,400, the same numbers I said before. Over the past year, employment in the public sector has grown 4.7% versus 1.2% in private industry. A 4x difference in growth in the last year. 23% difference or 38% difference since the beginning of the Liberal administration. Now, I don't have an opinion on whether or not this is necessarily good or bad, especially for those people who are working in the public sector. But sustainable, this is not. You can't just run government programs to employ your entire population. We've talked before about how if you look across all the different public sector silos, whether it's municipal, federal, or provincial, whether it's administrative services like the CRA or City Hall, or stuff like police and fire, or stuff like hospitals and teachers, it's 22% of all Canadians working on public sector dimes. Those are unionized jobs where union wages are far outpacing productivity, certainly far outpacing GDP contribution. It's not sustainable. It's just not. And that's not the sign of a healthy economy. Now, how do we fix it? I don't know. You got a lot of people who have probably been working in those jobs for a long time who don't have a specific set of skills or training. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that those people are not employable at places. I'm sure they are. But it's difficult at this threshold to say, okay, for the 40% job growth or 40% expansion in the public service we saw since 2015, we have to go backwards on it now because it's not good for the economy. How do you fix that? What do you do?
I don't have an answer, but you're going to have a relatively large public service in Canada just because our taxes are high. I'm not saying it's just a direct result, but because your taxes, your income tax.
It's a cycle. It's a cycle, right? There's a famous quote: "The bureaucracy is always expanding to meet the needs of the expanding bureaucracy." Like you just,
Yeah.
But at some point, there's an event horizon somewhere. Like where is it? I don't know. But
you got to find an equilibrium where it works given what is the tax dollars coming in and the services that they have to provide.
Yeah.
And because that we're going to, per capita compared to the States, it's going to be higher in terms of public sector jobs here than over there, because our healthcare system is publicly funded, for instance. Our school system, a lot of people choose to use the public school system. So there's more people that are working in those fields, and it's a result of our taxes being higher. Look at income tax, look at, you pay sales tax,
Yeah.
you pay taxes
There's
on
no doubt you
everything.
pay. I think the other thing, and Mike Campbell says this all the time. I agree with Mike. Like I'm not quite as like anti-public spending as Mike is. And I don't want to say that he is. I actually don't even believe that. So I'm going to take that back. But I want to know, like, what are we getting for the increase in spending from you and me, for the increased take from you and me in terms of like hospitals, schools?
Yeah, I can't answer that. This
It's
is
hard. It's hard.
it's way above my pay grade. I
Yeah.
can't answer these questions. I don't fucking know. But what I do want to touch on is the government shutdown that was potentially coming up in the United
I didn't
States.
even realize this happened until
I
like 2
agree.
days ago when they signed some deal on the weekend.
I thought they had carte blanche to run with this thing when the Republicans say you could
Yeah.
run up the debt ceiling to whatever the fuck you want
Wasn't
until
it
the
like a
election.
2-year deal or something like that? I
It
thought
was
that's
until
what
the
they agreed
election, I
on.
thought, or
Oh,
something. But whatever the fuck it was, like I'm incredibly shocked that we're going to have this partial shutdown. So what happened? A $460 billion package was released, and this is going to only fund it until September. So we're going to have to cross this bridge after that.
oh my
This
God.
is about for half the government, from what I'm reading. So it includes the Department of Agriculture, Energy, Justice, Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, and Veterans Affairs.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that are being impacted. So this 460 billion is going to take them until September, and then after that, it has to be dealt with again, right in the middle of an election too, by the way. So where's the focus going to be from the White House at that time, especially Biden? Obviously, it's going to be about, if he's running again, I'm assuming he is at this moment, his focus will be on getting reelected.
If they can get that cocktail from the other night going again, he's for sure.
He was good. Like,
yeah, I know he was good. I hate to admit it, but he was sharp. Engaging with the gallery, that was the moment I was like, whoa, this guy, whatever he's on, they got to duplicate this potion a couple more times for like 2 hours of debates. He might win. The guy might win.
I like it, during his speeches, a few times he looked to the left of his, like the right of camera, his left.
Yeah.
And he was saying, like, he was talking to the Republicans saying, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And a few things he said, by the way, I'll just put one thing. He mentioned the taxing 25% tax he wants to impose on billionaires, and he was saying this is going to generate $500 billion in 10 years. Now, do the math. If you are going to tax people of means that have the ability to skirt the system, so to speak, because they could go to other jurisdictions, they have the ability to do this, and you're only going to, and I'm saying only 500 billion over 10 years, that's 50 billion a year if you want to do the average.
Yeah.
How much did they spend in the last aid package for Ukraine, which was far greater than that? The border bill that didn't have any border in it whatsoever, that was like 90 something billion dollars, and the majority of that, some 60, I think, went towards Ukraine. So that 50 that you're going to get from these billions for billionaires each year, it's going to be wiped off the first aid package you give to a foreign country. It may not be Ukraine moving forward, but another satellite state that they're constantly trying to keep afloat is Israel. That's a huge draw for them. And it's an expense line that they have on their balance sheet that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get at is this 50 billion you're going to get every year. It's fuck all. It's going to do nothing to that.
Look at the debt clock. Just go to the debt clock and look at how fast the number goes up. 50 billion will last you, I don't know, half an hour, maybe 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's not much. It's not much. So, and probably the more you put policies in place like that, the more you take away from your long-term tax receipts. People will find ways to get around those things. They'll leave and they'll do other stuff, right? So,
and it falls on everybody else, the people that can't do that.
Exactly.
The poor.
Yeah.
And on top of that, then you had a 2025 budget that was released. I think it's the proposed budget. So what from gathering is they're going to be raking in terms of taxation, user fees, and all that shit. It's going to be around $5 trillion, which is a lot of money, but they are spending around $7.5 trillion. And now you throw in a few emergencies here. There's a hurricane there. There's a war to fund over here. You already have a $2.5 trillion gap between what you plan to spend and what you plan to take in. Throw in a few of these other incidences, that could easily turn into $5+ trillion miss that is going to just be tacked on to the.
Okay, let me ask something, because you're getting to the point here that I think I want to ask you about. Do you think the debt number that the U.S. constantly bandies about is actually accurate? There's no fucking way.
Trillion?
Yeah, there's no way it's that. It's got to be higher than that. It's got to be like double that. Like they're just making it up. They're making it up. Like it's all made up. The whole thing is fabricated. This is the thing no one talks about. Everyone's like 34 trillion, and you'll never be able to pay it back. Buddy, it's fucking 50. You would never know. You would never know. They just make the numbers up. All the numbers are invented.
That may be true. I never thought about that.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
But even if it's made up and they're hiding a much larger number, 34 trillion is not like something that we could say, oh, this is doable. We could pay this back. Let's increase taxes 10% across the board, cut back our spending. Within 3 years, we're going to have this sucker paid off. That's not the fucking case. This thing, even at 34 trillion, if it's fake and they're bringing it back to that number, it's still a number that is never going to be dealt with. They just tack it on if I can throw shit onto it.
We got tax Ukrainian billionaires. One smart fella says, yeah, that's an option, I guess.
How could you tax the 5 people that are getting the, I don't know.
I don't know. I think they'd there's so many things I want to say, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to, jeopardize the channel.
They can't fund everything.
Let me tell you, okay? They got better uses for those guys at this point than taxes. What else you want to talk about? Yeah, it's 125. Can we do 2 more? Can I get away with 2 more?
We get away
3
with
more? 3 more?
Let's start off. We'll see what we could go at. We have the Canadian mortgage holders. Yes. They are starting to miss payments in Q4. This is according to Equifax.
Yes.
I got some really good ones on the back end here, Joey. So mortgage delinquencies, they are surging in Ontario and BC. Ontario is up 135%, and BC is up 62%. They say that mortgagers in Ontario and BC are not only missing their payments on their mortgage, but also missing payment on their credit cards. And this specifically has to do more so with young homeowners. This is troubling. And they say 153,000 more consumers missed payments on credit cards. This is also, by the way, above pre-pandemic levels.
Wow. Okay. Now we're talking. Talking. Yeah.
Now, I said about the surge in mortgage delinquencies, and it's up 135%.
But it's still a low total number, right?
Yes. So that's the way to look. There's 2 ways to look at it. Yeah. Percentage-wise increase. London, for instance. London, Ontario, 70 homeowners defaulted on their mortgage payments. 70. That's not a large number. It is, I wouldn't want to be the bag holder for those 70. But in reality, how many hundreds of thousands of homeowners are there in London?
There's quite a few, right? Yeah.
So it's going up. Now, if this trend continues moving forward, 70 becomes 140, then becomes 280, then it becomes a real problem later on. But right now, it's just brewing. It's not a huge problem. It definitely is an issue, but it's fucking brewing, and it's going to get worse. But the credit cards was the one that is also really troubling, where pre-pandemic levels with respect to missing credit card payments. That's fucked. We'll leave it at that.
I mean, listen, the only thing I would say, Len, is like these things always start small, right? And people on Twitter were quick to point out, like, yeah, okay, it surged 100%, but it's only a double from 35 to 70 or whatever. But the rates, it's a lagging thing that moves through the system. And now you're starting to see people suffer. The inflation is pressuring them on one side, rates are getting them on the other side. And that number next month is going to be 80 or is it going to be 200, then you're talking like, okay, we got, 2 months, maybe don't make a trend, but we got to look at that 3rd month now. If we get 2 months that are moving that direction. Right. And that's only one city. I think there's probably others that are going to do that too.
And just like in 2008 in the States, when you have the banks or whoever has the mortgage holders there at that time, at the end, it's going to be power of sale. It's going to be a fire. They're going to sell it for whatever they can sell it for, which depresses the price of the rest of the homes, and it brings down. So then it's fucking getting out of control. And then you also have to deal with so many people renewing their mortgages now at a higher interest rate environment.
I know
people that there's a large amount of people that are now impacted. You sound pretty bad there, Julie. Let's just move on.
I just saw. Wait, I want to say one thing here. I saw Soretsky tweeted out today. Yeah, here's the percentage of loans coming due in 2025. TD has 18%, TD between but basically between February 24 and the end of next year. TD's got 32%, CIBC's got 48%, Scotia's got 38%, BMO's got 29%, and Desjardins has, what do they got? 37, and then National Bank's got 33. So
So
basically,
you're talking to a quarter of the people at least.
one third is the minimum. You got
I'm
as
one of
high
them,
as
by the way.
50 there. You got as high as 50 there.
I'm one of them. 2025 at the
Man.
beginning, I'm up for renewal. So
Crazy.
Bank of Canada said they're holding their rates firm as of March, 5%. Who knows what's going to happen moving forward? I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that. We could leave it.
My rates have been firm for so long. I only hold it when it's firm. Do you believe them? That's the question.
Believe them on what? They're going to hold firm for some time, or
yeah.
Well, they held firm last time. I don't know anything. You know what? They could even raise.
Yeah,
there's even the slight possibility they could raise. I would not be surprised if they do that. If I was a betting man, I would probably say they hold next time. But even if they raise, I would not be surprised.
Do you, Opti in the chat saying once you renew your mortgage, you'll be reporting from my spare bedroom. I got to renew part of my mortgage next year too. Actually, I'm on a blended mortgage here because I moved. Okay. So I think that he's full of it, and I think he's going to cut this year. And I think that we should erase from our memory any sign or signal that central banks are separate from governments or independent from governments. They are not. And to keep his job, he needs the government that's in power now to continue to be in power, and cuts will help them. So I expect him to cut. Period. End of story. And also like the TD, RBC, Scotia, I have all these stupid economics things saved on my toolbar here because I read them on Saturdays for the show. And the chorus of people crying out for removing shelter from inflation and then dropping the rates based on this new inflation measurement is growing. It's growing louder every week.
They could adjust it however they want.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And guys like guys like Derek Holt are not holding back anymore. And it's becoming sort of pop culture to see what Derek Holt had to say about, policy direction in the country in the last, 3 weeks or quarter, whatever it is. So I don't know. I think a cut's coming, man. That's my expectation. I think that's probably the case.
Well, Canadian insolvencies, it's another metric we should be looking at because business insolvencies are also higher than what we experienced in the pre-pandemic levels.
Do you think this? I think this is a bullshit stat though, because I think people spun up businesses during COVID to get the loans.
That may be right. So they're looking, but this is a 1-year window, by the way. Okay. So those businesses might have failed. This is within the last 12 months, from January to January, and it's 129% increase. So capturing as late, I guess, or early as January 2023. So maybe it might be the case. There might have been a company spun up just to get the money, but some things to consider too. Like there are businesses that are closing down for a number of different reasons. There's a bad economy, criminal activity going around there. So some businesses are experiencing more crime, and insurance is going up. It just doesn't make sense.
Sure.
Businesses that used to rely or have relied on low interest rate environments is no longer the case. Municipal taxes have gone up, so they have to pay that.
Yeah.
Sizable amount of the workforce are still working from home. So there's a lot of reasons here you could say, yeah, there's some validity to this.
And everyone spun up businesses to steal the money from the government. Yeah, I think that's I know a handful of people who spun up businesses during COVID to get the loan.
Good for them. I remember reading a story, and this was in the States, about companies doing that, like people doing that, spinning up companies, and they were going every weekend, flying into Miami and going to eat
board meetings. They're having board meetings for their company.
They weren't having. They were just going to purposely just to eat at high-end restaurants. I'll send you the Twitter feeds on that. There's some fabulous ones, and it's just fucking funny. And the company names, Joey, I can't even repeat them, but they're just. Well, we'll just leave it at that. The government of Canada, I'm not sure if you saw this, they are offering now suggestions for people out there who are having difficulties with paying their mortgages.
A brand new landing page on a .gc.ca domain. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing they are saying, though, I mean, this is for everybody out there that are looking for some, not financial advice, but at least some, assistance for where they should be looking. They do say that extending your amortization should be done and considered thoroughly, because you have to stomach in the longer duration of the mortgage. So a lot of people were talking about this, how this is now on the Government of Canada webpage, how to afford your mortgage. The fact that they're doing this, it goes to show you there are people out there that are struggling and they're looking for information.
Big time.
Last story, I guess we'll
talk about. Yeah, like put me out of my misery here. I'm fucking tired.
So we got 3 more stories. Last one. Ottawa School Board. This is a great one. I think I'm saving the best for last. Could make graduation ceremonies more inclusive. And how are they going to do this? By allowing people that did not pass to participate. So this is the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, whichever one you're considering sending your kids over there. And they're considering a way to do away with graduation ceremonies, and instead,
I love this,
opting for commencement ceremonies that will be based on equity, not students getting passing grades. And they say for a variety of reasons, students may not have completed all the requirements for a move on from secondary school. With this change, these students will be able to join their peers and celebrate their achievements. This is the ultimate in participation awards. This is, you show up, you get the fucking participation award and the certificate that comes along with it. I love it. It's a good story to end on.
I mean, what are we doing here? It's like amazing. I saw this on Our Canada today, the subreddit, and it's amazing. Like, even those guys are like, why are we taking away the rewards? Like the very few things people who work hard get to enjoy for their hard work, and instead just like throwing everyone into it and just giving it as a participation medal now. Like, why? You don't get to go to the grad dance if you didn't graduate. At least you didn't when I was in high school. You didn't get to go to the athletic banquet if you weren't on the fucking team. Like, you know what I mean?
Everybody should be included.
Why? This is
Why
true.
not?
This is true Isaiah's job content. We got to get Francis to talk about this. The message has been neutered so deeply and so horrifically at this point that it just has no potency left. Like, graduating doesn't matter. Your test scores don't matter. None of it matters. It's all just made up anyways.
Well, the next graduating class for the medical doctors, I'm showing up. I'm saying, where's my fucking degree?
Give me the knife.
And yeah, give me the fucking knife. I'm ready to start the job. So pay me right away. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, fuck. That's great.
If that can be done, why can't what I'm saying be done?
I love it.
Not? You know what? I always wanted to be a race car driver. I'm going to show up to the track and say, buddy, where's my suit? It's easy.
I just saw Brandon from Green Candle put out a video of him driving a car. So if he could do it, like, truly, probably anybody can. They'll just let anyone do that now.
Why not? He's doing
That's it for tonight. Len, thank you for carrying the show. I appreciate you doing the majority of the talking tonight. My voice is like leaving me fucking fast here. So, and thanks to all you guys. Len says, I've been messaging Len behind the scenes here. I can see, if I look on Twitter, there's like
24. It's 24 27 now.
It says 27 on YouTube, on Twitter, YouTube, and everywhere else.
It's like that for the past week. It's not right. When I
really?
was talking,
or maybe it is right.
No. If you look at the number, now this is behind the scenes shit. The number doesn't come down. It's always going up. So I think everybody that watches it just keep adding to
ramp it. Let's ramp it. Anyway,
it's fiat. Make it $1 billion.
I appreciate it. Why not? I appreciate you guys coming to the show and sticking with us while I was fucking struggling to talk. So until Wednesday, when I either talk to Tour or we talk to each other again, take care of yourselves.
Yeah, don't be a cock.
Well, I gotta end all the streams fucking separately here. Hang in, everyone. Still here, everybody. Still here. Okay.